All right, I'm Nick. Today we're out in the backyard. We have the Autopilot 136 with us. I did some videos on this originally. I did an initial thoughts video when it was released around March 5th. I did a video when I first got my hands on it, spent about 3 days fishing out of it. I called it a mediocre skiff, and that comment and the rest of my comments really upset, people who already had it, people who didn't have it, people who work at Old Town. That's fine, because my honest opinion is never going to be dictated by someone else's thoughts, inputs, or suggestions, right? It is my opinion. I am willing to take whatever consequences come from me stating those opinions. Now, when this kayak was first released, I was in Broxton Outdoors, and I told multiple people about how stupid it was to put this shear pin, we're strapped over here, this shear pin in this, oop, come undone, fail. This shear pin in that right there. It is corroded. Now, I took a photo, you can see it here. That was after the third trip of this thing being on the water. The idea of building your shear pin into the wrench is completely stupid. A non-thought out plan to do something with no end game, and then label a kayak as saltwater ready. This kayak was in saltwater 3 times. One was realistically in a river system. It's never been out of the bay system or the sound. It's never been in the Gulf to experience true saltwater abuse. Now, your shear pin, your backup plan, in case you break a shear pin over there, is already corroded and ruined. This kayak gets a ton of water right here, and that's just a terrible idea. It makes no sense. And I called that March 5th or 6th, whenever they released it, because it's stupid. It's not well thought out. And I told you in the last video, I thought the kayak was rushed to production. And I'm going to show you why I said those things. I'm going to show you why I said it was a mediocre skiff. And that opinion is not going to change. I have zero concerns about who it upsets. This kayak is for a certain group of people, and it's definitely not for a large group of people. And I'm going to tell you why I feel that way. Now, this thing aside, we're going to start at the front, right? And I'm going to show you a clip right here of the motor mount, and you can see it wiggling. Now, we go offshore a lot. We need a kayak that can go offshore, go inshore, get drug across the beach. One thing is, if you roll in the surf, which a ton of people roll in the surf all the time, even on calm days, and that motor mount hits the ground, or that motor head hits the ground in the up position, it is going to break something. It's going to fail somewhere. So where does it fail? Does it rip the plastic out of the kayak? Does it strip the aluminum plate out of the kayak? Does it break the head on the motor? Now you have no trolling motor, possibly a broken kayak completely, a giant hole which will be unrepairable. So is that a warranted thing, or is that a user error? How does that work? Now, surfing, coming in the surf. The back of the kayak is a square. Square-built kayaks don't perform well in the surf. It is like a boogie board that you're sitting 2 feet high off the ground in the middle of with very little control. This kayak is nearly 40 inches wide. It does not paddle well. So how are you going to paddle it in the surf to come in? How are you going to land when the weather picks up in a bad way? We talked about weight in the last video. This kayak with the motor mount is roughly 158 pounds. By the time you add a battery for the trolling motor, even if you spend $700, you're looking at a 180-pound kayak. By the time you add a fish finder battery, rods, reels, safety equipment, what are you at? You're at 220 pounds easy without question. That's 3, 4, 5 trips across the beach each direction to go fishing and to come back. That's a big thing. That's a big ask, right? You know, spot lock is a great feature. It's cool. It works well when you're pointing into the wind, but it won't work the opposite way because the kayak will spin around backwards and you have to turn around and try to fish out the back of the kayak, which I've seen videos of guys doing, which is great if you're bass fishing, but you're not going to be standing up fishing out of the back of the kayak offshore, which you could always anchor down current. But hook a fish, turns you around, weird things, okay? We'll go into details about that some other time, different video. So we covered the front, the motor, and the rear. For surfing, we covered weight. Now let's just think about the general kayak, the cup holders. The cup holders have no drains and they hold water. You can see it in this photo. They're just holding water for no reason. Like no one thought about, well, man, if we put it in rough water, it's gonna hold water. The next place it holds water is right next to your feet. You can see here in these videos that water just sits behind your feet, between the seat right here. Water will just sit in that hole. That's cool, but why? Why is that like that? Why is it angled down towards the seat? And it's not just this one, because I've watched a few videos and there's water there anytime anyone's in rough water. I don't want that. What if you have a pair of pliers that you just left sitting on the deck? Now they're always wet. All these different things. This kayak is, 13.5 foot long, 38 plus inches wide. It's unbelievably buoyant. What's the capacity? Like maybe 600 pounds. How is there water anywhere in this kayak? I weigh 200 pounds. I'm not a very big person. I'm not a small person, but I'm not huge. I went out with 0 gear, just some fishing poles. It's interesting to me that I don't feel like that should happen. Now, they built in through-hole kits similar to the Hobie system, but the hole is pretty darn small and people are having problems getting their wires through there. That's interesting. That wasn't thought out. It wasn't considered for the overall big picture. Then you have this thing, and I have other videos of it, but it doesn't open. Even if you move the seat, it hits. Like, what the heck is that? And I thought it was a fluke. I thought I was sitting in the seat wrong, and I tried to adjust myself and move around, but it wouldn't open. So you're putting a dry storage on the side of the kayak, but you didn't think about it opening all the way so anyone could see in there, or what? And now it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, okay? Obviously the pedals, the steering with your feet is very nice. It worked very well. The remote that goes with the iPilot, it works well. It does as intended. You can go true north. You can anchor, spot lock. It goes up to 10, increments of 5 on the speed. And I got it to, I think, 4.4 miles per hour. You can see here in this clip, but I had a 10 mile per hour tailwind and I was like surfing the waves when I hit 4.5 miles per hour. That's cool, but I don't want to go to my spots at 2 miles per hour to save battery. I want to be there at 3.5 miles per hour, and you're going to burn through a ton of battery doing that. Then I want to fish, and then I want to come back at 3.5 miles per hour, which I do in the PDL every single day. So for the extra weight, all the extra stuff, if the Predator PDL fails, I can paddle it pretty easy, which it's reliable and it doesn't. But if you have a failure with this thing paddles like a barge, especially in any kind of wind. I couldn't imagine paddling it offshore in a 1.5 foot wave or anything like that. It would kick your butt. This thing doesn't open. You can pull on it, but like it just does not open, okay? Which is silly, right? Super simple stuff. Now, there are rod holders or track mounts like these in the rear, but you can't reach them. They're so far behind you that you could only reach the front part. So the only thing that I foresee it being for is mounting GoPros on it, strapping a crate way behind you, but you can't get to it. You have to step over the seat, turn around, lean the seat back, do all kinds of stuff. So everyone's been adding an extra set of tracks behind the rear-facing rod holders, which eliminates that problem. But why are you doing that? Like, from the factory, this kayak cost $4,000. That's before you add a battery, fish finder, anything else. Why are you adding a track right there? Why isn't the track there? It doesn't make any sense. It makes you wonder who fishes from it when it's being developed. Is there a fisherman in it, or is it more like, hey, we can do this, 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 and this, and not think about how it functions? This is a prime example. Now, internal storage, there is none. Now, that's no big deal, okay? You know that going in, there's no big deal. Obviously, this kayak was truly built to focus on a bass tournament. It was focused kayak bass tournaments. It was released in conjunction with a major fishing tournament, and Old Town sponsored that series, which is cool, awesome. But to say that it's the greatest all-around kayak, most advanced, yeah, I guess you could call it the most advanced, but functionable. It's not 100% functionable, right? So you're sitting in the seat. It's hard to clear the front end with a 7-foot fishing pole. You have to lean way forward to get it out there. So if you hook a big fish, which remember, we're not bass fishing, we're going offshore, trying to find large king mackerel, sailfish, all these crazy cool fish, red snapper, even big redfish inshore. But if you can't clear the front of the boat, now you have the rod over here, you have a trolling motor underneath you, you're going to run into issues with that stuff. And that's why I mentioned fishability early in one of my videos about this kayak. Is I need the ability to fish. I don't need the ability to look cool or drive around or spot lock while I can get back in my truck. I don't need that. Those are marketing gimmicks. They're not about fishing, not about catching fish, and I'm a fisherman. I don't want a kayak that takes me 4 trips to get across the beach or 4 trips to get in the water. I don't want to go to a boat ramp and back my kayak in. I might as well buy an actual skiff. It comes to internal storage like we were talking about. You have a hatch in the front, but that's not for storage. That was for rigging purposes from the factory. They put that hatch there so they could run the power cables through the kayak and put the mount right here where it plugs in and install the pulley system for that rope. It's not for you. It's just not, okay? So then you have the lid underneath the seat, which is still gonna be used for various forms of rigging from the factory. They have to put foam in here, they put the backing on there, they do all kinds of stuff that involves those hatches, and that's what they're there for. When you're on the water, getting in that hatch is, you have to unstrap the seat, make room, flip the seat up, do whatever, get in there. It's not a really functional thing. So kayaks, it's plastic. What if you have a crack in a scupper hole? Or what if you run into an issue inshore or offshore, out in these big bays, even these big lakes that you guys bass fish? Then what happens? How do you bilge it out? Are you gonna crawl all the way to the front around that motor and start bilging? No, because as soon as you do that, the water's gonna shift forward, the kayak's gonna flip. Are you gonna take the seat off, try to sit in the middle and do whatever? No, because by the time you try to do that, the kayak's probably gonna roll over. Now your kayak's full of water and flipped over. There are problems with this, and this is why I called it a mediocre skiff, and that's why I would not fish from it. I still will give you a firm belief that it was rushed to production. I have a bunch of different video of fishing in it, going out and just documenting what happened. I'm not gonna post all of it because obviously the video would be 45 minutes long. But before you buy something like this, you need to think about your options. If I was gonna fish from this piece of plastic and I was gonna fish inshore, I would need something on the rear of it. You don't have the time to be going forward and hit reverse or hit spot lock because you have to turn the head all the way around, where in the Predator PDL, if you hook a fish next to a dock, you can instantly pedal backwards. Not 2 seconds, 3 seconds, not pick up a remote. That's not hands-free fishing. Let me tell you something. Look, this right here is not hands-free fishing. I don't care what you say. If you have to pick up your remote to go backwards, that's not hands-free fishing. It's not. It just doesn't make any sense. FL, quit saying it. It's not hands-free fishing. So you can pedal backwards instantly. You can stop that fish from getting to that dock or that piece of structure, whether it's a reef or anything. You can pedal backwards. It is instant. With this, you have to spin the remote around and then start it in reverse. If you push spot lock while gliding forward, it will spin around and it'll put out a serious thrust of water. That is great, unless you're fishing in 2 feet of water and you're trying to stalk redfish or something like that, some kind of flat species, right? Now, if I was gonna fish from it, I'd have to put something on the back of it, whether it is a Bernie's River Stick or a power pole. Now you're looking at $300 to $1,000 and I don't know, roughly 6 to 12 pounds of extra weight again, and more rigging. So we're back to the boat ramp. We're back to launching at a boat ramp. We're back to needing a trailer, register the trailer, register the kayak, and so on. Now, that's why it's not for me. Who's it for? The gentleman who owns this bought 2 of them, and it's perfect for him and his wife. They're going to put it in the kayak, or put it in the water together. There's 2 of them. They're going to unload them together. They're going to go out for leisurely days on the water. They're not worried about dragging it across the beach to go offshore. They're going to go up the rivers, out in the bays. They're going to enjoy themselves for comfortable days on the water where they don't have to pedal and exert themselves throughout the day. It gets hot here, right? You'll be soaked in sweat midday. It's early in the day and I'm already sweating, right? It's not even 9 a.m. there are going to be some guys who use it bass fishing, and they're going to have 73 rods in the back of it, and that's cool. They're going to drive across the lake, they're going to get a place, they're going to spot lock it, they're going to move forward nice and slow, and that's great. It's wonderful, but it wouldn't work here. Our fish move the kayak. If you're going to hook a 18-inch largemouth and it swims to the surface and jumps twice and does whatever and is in your net in 6 seconds, that's awesome. That's not what we're going to do, and that's one of the reasons it won't work. People are going to use it, and they're going to catch fish from it right here in Florida. They're going to catch fish inshore, offshore, whatever. I'm in it for the most efficient platform, and my honest opinion, I already gave it to you. This is not it. It's not it. It's cool. It's great, and I'm going to take a ton of flack for the video. That's fine. I hope you guys don't get upset or fight in the comments section. Whatever you have to say, be respectful. Your opinion is your opinion. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong. My opinion is my opinion. So don't go to the comments and start fighting with me or anyone else. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you all have a great day.